And welcome back. Here we are at video number 3. And the question we're going to address in this video is, what is your topic going to be? What's your positioning and your background? And I guess I'll kick it off here, Brad, by saying you better know damn well what your book's going to be about. You don't have a book. You have to have some kind of topic to go into this with. And obviously, if you can draw from experience, you can draw from things you already know and you're already good at, which is the only thing you should be writing about, then it should be a lot easier. And later on in a future video, we're going to give you some tips as to how you can actually extract ideas from your mind a lot easier than you might feel like it would be today if you were to sit down with a pen and start writing your book, or with a typewriter, right? Because we all use typewriters to write. Um, but seriously, knowing your topic or knowing your positioning ahead of time and how you actually want to go into that book is going to be extremely valuable, extremely important. How did you actually come up with yours, Brad? Because I know your title, I think, preceded the actual content, right? You just knew what you were gonna, and we're gonna talk about title in a future video, but I think you started with that, and then you figured out, you kind of backfilled later what your positioning would be based on what the hell you already knew.
I had been, long before the title came, I had been wanting to write a book and thinking about writing a book, and knew that it was going to be something that I was going to do.
Right.
And I kind of had an idea of what it was going to be about, but the once I had the title, that accelerated the positioning mindset and kind of where I wanted, how I wanted the book to look and feel and everything else. But I always knew it was going to be a book about sort of being a work-at-home entrepreneur like an internet entrepreneur. I always knew that was going to be the theme or sort of the topic. But how I was going to position that, how I was going to make that look, hadn't quite been figured out yet. And without that, you really don't have much, right? Because there's dozens of new books just like that coming out every month.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to separate yourself when there's so much similar going on right now in the marketplace. And I think that's actually a good opportunity for you as the writer to kind of take a deeper look at what you already do, what you already know, some of the experiences you already have, and what makes you unique. Now, again, I don't know if you as the viewer here, I don't know what your background is. Brad and I both are active video bloggers, and we have a social profile, and we have customers that we already have worked with, for Brad over a decade, and for me 5 years now. And so I can look back at things that I've done on my video blog or products that I've created and see which ones had the best reaction, see which ones drew the lot. I always know something I've done well with, something like a talk, when I get a lot of questions, and I can usually look at and examine a lot of those questions and say, oh, okay, this product or this talk I gave or this presentation I delivered really gave me some questions that went down this road, and I was able to answer a whole bunch of questions that I didn't even realize people had, and that in itself could become the entire premise for a book. Like, I know, as an example, I do a lot of different interviews, and a lot of the time people will ask me how I made the leap from being a corporate employee to just kind of quitting that, up and quitting one day with not really much of a plan. How I was able to get my mind around doing that and have the courage to do that. And I talk about the power of sort of committing to a goal before you know how you're going to do it, right? It's this idea of I'm just going to put it out there and commit to it, and I have really no way to turn back, so I'm just going to figure it out. And people love that story, and and people ask me more and more. Tell me more about that. Like, how did you feel? What did you do? How did you handle the problem? And so that becomes often the premise of future blog posts, or even when I write, when I do my book, my next book, my first book, I'm going to look at that because it's an area that obviously lots of people want to learn about. So when you come up with your topic, your positioning, look for hints, look for clues of things that people are coming to you for answers for, because maybe you have an answer that a lot of people want to have, and they don't know where else to get that answer. You're the person that's going to give it to them.
Huge takeaway right there. Absolutely huge. Often other people see things in us we don't see in ourselves, right? They'll ask us for answers to things we didn't realize we were the authority on that, until it's almost like the stuff you know best is the stuff you don't even think about.
Yeah, you take it for granted. Meanwhile, people are looking at you wondering how you did that thing, how you know so much about that topic. So
Now, it's
that's
important
key.
to remember that especially when it depends what kind of a book we're writing here, of course, and everybody's going to have a different answer to this, but it's important to understand that there's different ways to create a book like this, right? There's going to be and of course we're sort of focused here on nonfiction. Of course, this is the world that we're going to be operating in. This is like your business books, your how-to books, your
management books,
thought leadership, that type of thing. But you've got to think about, what is that going to be for you? Is your book going to be action steps? Is your book going to be more about mindset? Like for me, my book was more of a mindset book. In fact, I've gotten a lot of criticism for not putting action steps and how-tos. There's no actionable, stuff. It's more about how to think. You have to decide.
Your perfect avatar loves that, because they don't want action steps. They want inspiration, because they're going to make their own steps.
Exactly. And more importantly, for me, writing a book about internet marketing, action steps change every week in this business.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, my book would already be a little bit out of date if it was all action steps. So you have to think about that. Am I in a fast-paced technology world where action step books aren't actually going to stand the test of time, right? Why does a book like Think and Grow Rich still sell today? Why is it still, because it's a mindset book.
Yeah. It
doesn't matter when it was written.
Yeah, it's universal truths that are always going to be true. So
yeah. So, now again, if we're talking about how to install drywall, action steps are going to be just fine, although they will also eventually hit a wall, right? You're gonna find people are using newer technologies and newer products, even just a decade from now than they are today. So you've got to think about that kind of stuff. How much do you want to how much of it do you want to be mindset? How much of it do you want to be actionable? And you can have a bit of both in every book, but you may want to decide what side you want to lean on.
Yeah, and then further to that point, you can even ask yourself, do I want it to be from first-person perspective, where I'm giving my own advice? A lot of people aren't necessarily experts on the domain themselves, but they're researchers, and they went and found the best people on a certain topic, and now they're the author of a book. They kind of became an expert because they talked to all the experts in that field. That could be you as well. So never use the excuse of, well, I don't know enough about X, Y, whatever. I don't want to say Z because it sounds too Canadian. So X, Y, Z. But that doesn't matter, because if you have the initiative to go and find those people that give you the answers, now you kind of are an expert on that topic. And you can just tell stories.
You film a documentary about poker, you're going to know a lot about poker at the end of that project. Or if you write a book about something, you're going to learn everything there is about that in that process. Even just reading and just going through the read and edit rounds, if you have a ghostwriter doing it for you, you're still going to learn a ton about that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we covered sort of two major points of discussion here. One is, if it is going to come from you personally, you want to look into your life at areas or hints where you obviously are an expert in the eyes of other people. Maybe you didn't even notice that. And then also deciding what your book is going to be. Is it like Brad said, is it going to be of the mindset style? Is it going to be a how-to style? Are you going to be the researcher / expert by meeting other experts? Is it a combination of all these different things? And you might want to do the most obvious step and look in your existing category, your existing industry, and what are other books doing? What resonates with you, what doesn't? What sells well, what doesn't? What kind of titles are they using and all that, which is a good segue for our next video. But I think all of that will come in very handy when you're answering the question from this video, which is, what is your topic? How do you want to position it? What is your background? Anything to add, Brad?
No, I think that's great.
Excellent. Well, we'll see you in the next video, which is going to be very, very fun. What is your book title?